Hello, and welcome to QuickBooks in the Real World, where this is Marie Gibson, and I help you to get your QuickBooks to sing and dance. Today, we're going to be using our QuickBooks Online software, and we're going to have a very small snippet about class tracking. And class tracking is a tool in QuickBooks that helps us determine the profit and loss, determine the income from any one of our classes, which is the term that QuickBooks uses, or a division, or a department, or a profit center. So you may have heard any one of those three terms. And so if I'm looking at my profit and loss, and again, thank you to Craig's Landscaping, who's my good friend. It's a sample company that, and again, I never disclose confidentiality with my clients. But if I have a profit and loss, this profit and loss report for the year will tell me in total, in everything, what has happened during this year. And in this case, Craig's had a pretty good year. He has a little bit of a profit at the bottom, right? We always want to build in that profit. We always want to, actually, there's some thought that we should take that profit off the top before we do a lot of other spending. But meanwhile, what we want to discuss is this class tracking, this divisional tracking, the department. Let's track the department. I have a foreman or I have a supervisor for each department, and I'd like to have them shoulder the responsibility for their department, for their profit center. If you're a nonprofit organization, oftentimes you receive grants, and you would consider this to be fund accounting or grant tracking. And so you can use the class tracking as well for that purpose. So I'm at a profit and loss report, and instead of pulling this report by the total, I'd actually like to pull it by classes. I'm going to run this report. And this is a great, I added a few here, a few classes, a few profit centers to Craig's Landscaping. You can see that I added design work, some holiday decorations, maintenance. This is new install, our overhead, and then this is the column that's not specified. We haven't done anything with it yet. We would need to edit these transactions and move them over into one of these columns where we would prefer. So if I was here, let's just pop in there. Let's say that this landscaping services, I'm going to click on it, and we have several invoices and some receipts. This weekly gardening service actually belongs to our maintenance category. Our maintenance, that's the wrong word, category. It's the maintenance class, right? Because our category for QuickBooks is our account, our chart of accounts. This is class tracking, it's different. And I specifically made that little slip to point that out to you, that we're not talking about chart of accounts here. We're talking about specific departments, specific profit centers. How much money did we make in our maintenance division? I have a guy, or Craig has a guy, who's in charge of that maintenance division. They do all the servicing, all the lawn mowing, all the weekly services. And so what is the income coming specifically from that maintenance division? And what are the expenses that are attributed directly to that? And again, as we look through this list of non-specified, let's go ahead and we can grab some other installation. And let's say that this one is installation of landscape design. And so we need to know a little bit more about the company, right? But I'm going to say, well, that's a design or that's new install. We don't know enough about Craig to know exactly how that was put in, but let's say actually all of those were new install instead of the design. His design might actually fall under new install. We'd again have to know just a little bit more about that. And we can save and close. Thank you very much. We modified it. Let's go back to that profit and loss report. Thank you. And each of our non-specific expenses also need to be attributed to a class or to a department center. Let's say our insurance. Insurance is usually a general overhead. And so I can edit this, and you can see that I'm just, and usually we wouldn't go through and edit the whole year. If you have accountant's version software, you can actually do this pretty quickly. If you don't have the accountant's version software, you have to do them one by one. Or you would just start at the beginning of the year and start your new year, or pick a date and start the new date when you're going to do class tracking. And as you can see, the other columns start populating as I start moving this over. And so here, the insurance is part of my overhead, the accounting is part of my overhead, the office expenses, part of my overhead, my rent. And so at the end of the year, or the end of the month, or the end of the period, I actually could split off a report and hand it to the supervisor that's in charge of this department, who's in charge of this class. I could also then hand the supervisor profit and loss report for this department, and one for this department, one for this department. Likewise, if it was a nonprofit and there were different people in charge of different grant programs, I can split off. We would actually filter. We haven't talked about filtering reports very much. Let me just show you what that might look like. So I'd come into my customized report. There's a filter button down here. And it says all income, all expenses. That's correct. But I also just want to filter, which one shall we pick? Let's say we'd like to do just our new installation. Thank you very much. We run a new report. And now I can see that the income and the expenses attributed to the new installations is very specific. And this is a great way to use class tracking. It's a wonderful tool. I look forward to visiting with you later and seeing how you like it. Let me know if you have any questions. Join our Facebook group and keep me posted. Talk to you soon.